I'm very excited to join this producing team. A lot of them who have been here for a long time. But the constant, of course, is David Galligan, who's the glue behind all of these events. He gets the people to do things that you'd never expect them to do, and this is actually the first year that I'm acting as a producer on this stage benefit, which, as you know, has been going for 26 years. But I executive produced all of the Stage 2 events, which were kind of the sister shows from these. It's a community event. We're back at the Luckman Theater this year, which is a fabulous place to work. But one of the things I like the best about it, forgetting about the theater itself, is that there are two huge dressing rooms. So all the women are in one room and all the men are in one room. And where you might think that might create diva moments and troubles, instead it creates this amazing community where, you know, Angela Lansbury is helping Carol Cook with her eyelash, and everybody's together, and there is no attitude, there is no star trips, just it's one big happy family. It's very hard to do these shows with such a short amount of rehearsal and a short amount of time, and everybody just kind of pitches in and does it, and that's part of the joy of it. I remember the Jerry Herman one. We had that now famous moment where Angela Lansbury and Carol Channing were on stage together for the very first time, and a kind of a cult following album came out of that one. We only had them the day before the show to actually rehearse, and if anyone didn't see it, it was a number where Angela Lansbury came to the top of one of two twin stairways, and they started playing the Mame music, and you expected her to do something about Mame, and she said, "I've always wanted to do this," and she sang "Hello, Dolly." And at the top of the other stair, while Angela was singing, you hear somebody say, "Somebody's singing my song!" And of course, it was Miss Channing, and it turned into a number that was a combination of the horsemen from Mame and the waiters from Dolly, and it was a great number, culminating at the end where the two of them said, "Wow, wow, wow, fellas, look at the old girls now, fellas," and everybody went crazy, and then Jerry Herman rose up out of the pit. So it was just amazing. So the one day of rehearsal, Miss Channing arrived at the theater and went in to look, and nobody was paying much attention because we weren't ready, and there were no lights on the stage, and everybody was doing what they were supposed to be doing, except Miss Channing, who decided to try out the stairway. And the first step she took, she went head over heels down about 20 stairs. And it's like every producer's nightmare. This is the day before the show, and she hit her head on the floor, and there's blood coming out of her head, and she's dressed all in white. And by the time I got to the stage, David Galligan was there holding her, and he was then covered with blood, and she was not badly hurt. You know, a head wound will bleed more than it has any right to, and she went to the hospital, and she got her head patched up, and she did have a little tiny break in a little bone in her arm. But the next day she did the show in a cast from here to here, and if you had good seats, you saw that she was wearing a cast. If you had bad seats, you basically thought she was wearing a white glove, and she covered it with diamonds. So it was perfect. But everybody tells the story about how I tried to kill Carol Channing, and it's just not true. It's really not true. I love Carol Channing. Another very funny thing that happened during that was when we were waiting, the paramedics came in, and the paramedic said, he was so sweet to her, and he said, "Okay, darling, so what's wrong?" And we had decided to just keep rehearsing with the boys and with Angela, because what else were we going to do? And so Carol said, "Well, what's wrong is that she's getting more rehearsal than I am." And it's funny now, it was not funny then. I think we recorded all of the Actors Fund concerts, but we only produced 2 of the albums, and I believe the same with the regular stage events, that they are recorded professionally, but then it is expensive to produce the album. A lot of gems are really just sitting there out of lack of funds to get them produced. If people wanted to make specific donations to get these albums recorded, perhaps to dedicate them to somebody who they've lost, or even if they just want it to be that they produced a record album, that they were the angels for a record album, and I think that's a very good way to do it. It's not huge amounts of money, but it's money that that just doesn't exist. So if somebody wanted to make a donation to get one of these albums produced, all they really have to do for more information about it is I would contact APLA. There's probably a link on the page you're watching this from, or it's easy to find, AIDS Project Los Angeles, and the person to talk to over there is Madonna Cacciatore. By the way, we're giving Continental Airlines an award this year for all the work that they've done with both of these events. If it wasn't for Continental Airlines, we would not have been able to have had the casts that we've been able to present, because we just wouldn't have been able to afford to get them here. I've kind of been an AIDS activist since day one. It's been a long time. I mean, whoever thought we would still be doing this 26 years later? Early on in the AIDS epidemic, I lost one of my best friends, and it made me really angry. And so I channeled the anger into activism. One of the things I'm the proudest of is Tom Viola and I, Tom Viola, who runs Broadway Cares Equity Fights AIDS, and I got the red ribbon to basically be a international symbol of AIDS awareness by getting them on award shows. I'm sure people remember those years when you couldn't see an award show without everybody wearing an AIDS ribbon. And I mean, it was his idea, but after the first few that we did in New York, he said, okay, all the award shows are in California and you live in California, so here, do it. It was a really rough road. There were people who were extremely abusive to us, and there were people who just absolutely refused to participate. There were people who completely embraced us. But every single award show was a new challenge. And it worked, though. It worked. I mean, I remember the first year that we saw them on the Golden Globes. That was a worldwide exposure, and I think that was one of the most important nights of the whole fight. They actually did not want us there that night. I don't know if I've ever told this story out loud. So what we did was we got to the caterer, and we made up sheets that explained what the red ribbons were and why they were important, because this was way at the beginning. And we had one placed at every single place setting, and it was the first time we weren't actually there, and I was wringing my hands, and the show came on live, and the first time the camera swept the room, I saw a sea of red ribbons and knew that we had succeeded, and realized that now people all over the world were going to start identifying the red ribbon with the fight against AIDS. And obviously it was successful, because now there are ribbons of every color and everybody's copied it. And so that's one of the things I'm the most proud of, is my part of the fight, because people always say, what can I do? That became what I could do, and I'm really proud of it. Everyone needs to come see this show, not only to have a good time, but to support APLA, because that's really what it's about. And we have to remember that is why we're doing this. It's to support APLA and to help people living with AIDS.